Hello, Quesnel, and welcome to Q Today. I'm Alison Duddy.
And I'm Nate Bello, and this is our show for October the 16th.
All right, coming up on today's show, from The Observer, the top story, Gill and Van Dyke sentenced to federal prison, and also a report on the Spend the Night in the Cold fundraiser that took place last weekend.
And Scott Elliott has a segment around town, and he is looking at the farmers market, which just ended their summer season last week. And also, I sat down with you, Alison and Lynn Turner, and we talked about your accessibility parking campaign.
You bet. We'll see that a bit later. So if you didn't notice, we've got a new set here, and we would just like to take a second to thank Kay Honor for coming in and sprucing up our set into a nice fall scenery for you. So moving along,
beautiful.
It does. It looks really nice. Right. Thanks, Kay. So here at Q Today, we bring you the current news provided by our partnership with the Quesnel Caribou Observer, plus a little bit of our commentary thrown in.
And we also bring you our stories, our own stories, because then they're all based on your concerns, what you would like to promote in Quesnel, whatever you think is important, we think is important. So if you want to promote something, let us know, and we'll go out there and cover it. This is promotion. This is Quesnel talking to Quesnel.
All right, so moving on to the news now. Remember, we do just give the highlights. If you want to read all the details, pick up your copy of the Quesnel Caribou Observer. Now we're going to move over to Nate for a little bit of the news.
Thank you, Alison.
You bet.
Serious story that we start as our top story. Clarence Gill and Bradley Van Dyke have been sentenced to federal prison time following a guilty verdict back in March. Gill was sentenced to 5 years minus 2 weeks, ordered to supply of DNA, and ordered to supply a DNA sample, I should say, and prohibited for owning firearms for 10 years. And Van Dyke was sentenced to 3 years and 3 months, also ordered to supply a DNA sample, and received a lifetime firearm prohibition. And this followed an incident in Bushy Lake from back in September of 2009. The two men were charged with many things: break and enter to commit an indictable offense, assault, aggravated assault, and using a firearm while committing or attempting to commit the indictable offense of assault. After a 2-week trial in Quesnel in March, the two were found guilty, and sentences were handed down last week by a judge in Vancouver Supreme Court.
All right, thanks for that, Nate. Another serious story. Spending a night in the cold can be an adventure for some. However, for many, it's a harsh reality that they face on a regular basis. Seasons House hosted their 5th annual Spend a Night in the Cold last Friday night. The event is both a fundraiser and an awareness-raising event to the plight of homeless people in our society. Now, in Friday's Observer, Annie Gallant highlighted the stories of 2 people who were attending the event for different reasons. There was a 17-year-old young man, Brian, which is not his real name, who was attending the event because of his own personal experience. His mother has fought addictions for as long as he can remember and was homeless on more than one occasion, so he has first-hand experience. And then there was McNaughton Centre Principal Dennis Hawkins, who was spending the night to raise awareness of homelessness and to raise money for the shelter. He spoke about an intake meeting with a 16-year-old girl a number of years ago. When he asked her where she was living, he was shocked to learn that she had been homeless for more than a few months at that point. Hawkins brings up a good point in the article, saying our students are at risk for many different factors. However, youth and teenagers should not be homeless. If you would like to find out more on how to support Seasons House, you can call 991-0222. And we'll also have some pictures from Friday night coming up later in the show in Sutton's Shutters.
And also something in our next program with on the Scott Elliott Around Town.
That's right.
So last show we talked about Fire Prevention Week, which wrapped up last weekend. It was a great tribute to our firefighters. You know, we have to salute them for their selflessness, their sacrifice, their commitment, and they do it all with honor, loyalty, and courage. So the rest of there were some some departments were in one edition, and then the rest of them were last week.
Yeah.
And we just want to say that congratulations, thank you so much. And if you're interested in learning about becoming a firefighter, you can just look it up at, I have it here, just hold on a second. Maybe I have it on your sheet of paper.
I think you have it on my sheet,
Okay,
Nate, because I'm
sorry.
looking at it right now. So that means if you are interested in becoming a volunteer firefighter in Quesnel, you can call your local department or Sylvain Gauthier at 992-5121. And they also have a website with an online application at quesnelfire.ca. All right, and in entertainment news, we've got a couple of great concerts coming up at the Senior Centre to tell you about. First, on October 16th at 8 p.m., one of Canada's premier rock and roll bands, April Wine, will be performing. Tickets for this concert are $45, available at Circle S Western Wear. And then another concert on October the 18th at 7:30 p.m., Michelle Wright will perform as one of the stops on her 30-city tour. These tickets are $35 and are also available at Circle S Western Wear. If you're not into movies, or if you're, more into movies than music, you can check out the third film in the Quesnel Film Club's fall lineup, The Untouchables, plays at the Carib Theatre on October the 18th at 6:30 p.m.
And in sports, Jonas Gagnon Observer reporter reported on the rebirth of a legend, Carl Moffat, an alumni of Hart Stampede Wrestling. He will resurrect his alter ego, Jason the Terrible, in Edmonton this month for the return of the legends. And Jason the Terrible has been used by many people, but the original person to say I'm Jason was Carl Moffat. He moved back to Quesnel in 1990s. After had some hard times there, but he has found his God, and he's straightened himself out, and he still enjoys putting on the act of Jason the Terrible. So he will be in Edmonton again, but he still really enjoys Quesnel, he says.
Yeah. And in hockey, the Atom Thunder played a doubleheader last weekend against Williams Lake, winning both games. The Thunder won both games handily, 8-5 in the first game and 12-4 in the second. The team hosts their home tournament this weekend, starting on Friday and wrapping up on Sunday.
Okay, that's the Observer News.
You bet.
And now from the field, the farmers market, it's all over, but what a beautiful season it was. Yesterday, last Saturday was beautiful. The Saturday before that was beautiful. Scott and his Around the Town, Scott in his Around the Town segment was there. Let's take a look at Scott at the farmers market.
All right, my name's Scott Elliott, and welcome to Around Town. I'm here with Ted Trayer, and he's with Moose Meadows Farms. We're at the farmers market here in beautiful Quesnel on a stunning day. And Ted, why don't you tell me a little bit about your farm and what you do?
Well, Scott, it's we have a kind of a fun farm. It's a little different. It's not really your typical farm. We do a lot of different things. It's mostly dealing with non-timber forest products and experiences. That being said, we deal with Christmas trees, Christmas wreaths. In the spring, we do birch syrup. We have a bunch of alpacas. They get a haircut every year. We get socks and blankets made from those guys.
Wow.
We make lots of different wild syrups and jellies and jams and stuff from a lot of the different things we collect in the forest. My daughter makes pickled cattails that she collects out of the pond. So it's all the different things that are out there, the wild things that
You're keeping pretty busy then.
that are under your nose. Yeah,
Okay.
so we're just using some of those things.
The one thing, and I have been to your farm, and it's fascinating, the different things that you have going on there. But tell me a little bit about the birch syrup. What's that all about?
Well, it's interesting. It's very different. I'm from Eastern Canada. I grew up on maple syrup. I mean, maple syrup's still a big part of our diet.
Sure.
But it's a different kind of tree. It's a different sugar. It's a different end use. Maple is about 40 to 1. 40 liters of sap make 1
Okay,
liter of syrup.
okay.
Birch is 100 or 120 to 1, so much lower sugar content.
Oh,
Okay.
I see.
And a different kind of sugar. Maple is sucrose, like table sugar. Right?
Yeah.
It's very forgiving. You can heat it very, very high. Birch is fructose and glucose.
Ah.
Different kind of sugar. remember your high school chemistry like I do, which is not that good. What that means is you can't heat it over 100 degrees Celsius, otherwise you scorch it to make tar, which is good for a canoe but not a food product. And it's a different end use.
All right.
Like I said, I'm from Eastern Canada. I put
Yeah.
maple syrup in my pancakes.
Sure.
Birch is more of a cooking application.
Ah.
Right? It's great on a salmon that you're going to do on a cedar plank. It's good on a vinaigrette, salad dressing, glazed vegetables, that kind of stuff. Really great.
Okay, I had some right out of the tree once when I went to your place. It kind of there wasn't a harsh taste to it. It was really, really mellow, just like flavored water almost.
Well, it is. It's people have actually been drinking it across the world for centuries. They've been primarily Europe, Scandinavia, Russia, those places. They've been drinking it as a tonic. They claim to would cure baldness and this and that and all these things. We call it nature. We call it nature's Gatorade. Because what's Gatorade? Gatorade's water with a little bit of sugar and some electrolytes.
Sure.
Right. Doesn't have any coloring, but I mean, it's great stuff. We have a picture of a lady in northern Yukon in 1908 tapping a birch tree for the sap. Right. And you think 100 years ago, if you could get something with a little bit of sugar and a little bit of kick first thing in the spring, you'd be all over that.
Yeah, no doubt.
It makes sense.
All right. Well, thanks for this, Ted. I really appreciate it, and enjoy your day.
You too.
Okay, take care now.
All right, thanks for that, Scott. Now we also have another segment from Scott in his Around Town. The Relay for Life actually takes place in May, but the Kopetsky family team, Family Fun, starts their fundraising as soon as it's over, pretty much, for the next year. They started their fundraising for next year, and here's Scott again talking with Marianne Kopetsky.
I'm here with Marianne Kopetsky, and we're in the Safeway parking lot. So if you hear some traffic, we're right on the side of the highway. But we've got a wonderful thing going on here today, Marianne, and maybe you could tell me a little bit about it.
Yes, we're doing a bottle collection for Relay for Life.
Okay.
Relay for Life is a fundraiser for the Cancer Society, Canadian Cancer
Great, okay.
Society. And we usually try to get out here every long weekend and collect bottles for our team. Our team is Family Fun, and we have been fundraising for Relay for Life. This is our 11th year.
Wow.
This actually is our 12th year.
Okay.
We're going into the 12th year.
Okay.
We finished 11.
Okay.
It's with the support of the people of Quesnel that we can do it.
So you're getting a lot of buy-in. There's a lot of people helping you out.
Absolutely.
That's great.
On so many things. We do a lot of fundraisers through the year.
Okay.
And we get a lot of support with everything.
That's excellent. So when's the next time you're going to be here so people know? Is it going to be the next long weekend? Will you do this again?
No, we probably won't in the wintertime.
Yeah, a little
It's
cold.
just too cold.
Yeah.
So probably our next one will be March.
Okay.
But if anybody wants to donate bottles to us, they can just phone us.
Okay.
We'll go to their house and pick them up.
What's the phone number? Can you give us a phone number there?
Yes, 249-5720.
Excellent. So 250-249-5720.
That's
and
right.
you'll be happy to go and get the bottles and cans and help people clean up, and it
We're
goes to a
happy
wonderful
to
cause.
pick them up. Yep.
That's excellent. I want to thank you for this. Thank you for what you're doing for Relay for Life
Thank
because it's
you.
a wonderful cause.
Yes.
Okay,
And again, as I say, without the support of the people, we couldn't do it.
that's great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Okay, Alison.
Yes, sir.
Last week, you and I sat down with Lynn, as we said at the top of the show, to discuss your campaign on accessibility parking permits. It's so important. I think one of the main things I learned was it's so important that the community supports the initiative. So let's take a look at the interview, and then afterward, I'll get your final comments.
Sounds good.
We're up.
Thank you very much, Alison. And I'm here with Alison Duddy. Hi, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Nice to meet you, sir.
Yeah, nice shirt. It's a little bit different than the other one.
Thank you. Well, different day, different time.
Okay. And Lynn Turner. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, me.
Well, here we are in Quesnel at a special time of the year. The snow's going to come, and pretty soon there's going to be problems with parking. And actually, all year long, I understand there's problems with parking for handicap. So, Lynn, you have a campaign that's just starting.
Yes, we do, Nate. This month, Alison and I made a presentation to our City Council asking that they make a declaration that October would be Accessible Parking Awareness Month. And we've begun our campaign now.
Okay. And give us some details, Alison.
Well, some of the basic gist of the campaign, I mentioned it on the show, Nate, is just to increase awareness and education surrounding the proper use of disabled parking spots and the accessible parking permits.
Okay, so you both have these permits. Just on a personal level, sometimes you drive up somewhere and get boiling mad?
You sure do. You drive up and you see a vehicle parked in an accessible spot that isn't hanging up a parking placard, a parking permit. And these permits, this is what they look like, and they have to be hung from your rearview mirror.
And they have date stamped on them too, so you have to know they're valid.
Yes, they do. This is an expired one. It's my old one. But when you see people pulling into these spots that you really need, and they don't need them, it's very frustrating.
That's not to say that there are some people that have mobility problems, but you don't see it. But the main thing is, if they don't have a placard, that means that they haven't, they really don't belong to park in
They're
those.
not entitled to park in that spot unless they have a valid parking permit.
Okay, so this campaign, the city council, you went to see them and they said yes?
Yep, they did proclaim October as Accessible Parking Awareness Month. So for this month, Lynn and I will be going out and making presentations to different community groups. Coraloo, there's a couple planning classes that we're going to be speaking to there. And we've got a bunch of stuff on the go, so you're going to see us around a lot in October.
Okay, so there's some of these activities. Okay, you go into a high school, okay, and you got these kids here, and they may not be totally, let's say, sensitive to the issue. What do you do? Do you talk personally to them, or how do you approach it?
You want to take that one?
Well, the classes themselves aren't very big. So what we have here is an opportunity with education. I mean, they're in a school. These young students are just learning to drive. So they need to learn, first of all, about accessible parking.
All right.
Why is it important? What are the reasons why we get these parking permits? And it's not just our bylaw officers that need to do the enforcing. Enforcing can be done by you or I or Alison or any other person saying to somebody who's parked in a disabled spot without a placard, did you know that you're in an accessible spot? And let them know that it's not okay to park there without having their placard.
So we start off with the kids and get them to get the message across, and hopefully it'll get up to their parents and like that. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a very interesting aspect that you said. It's not just city bylaw. They're taking care of it. Forget it. It's a whole community.
It is. You know, I think, Nate, if we get enough people out in the community that are willing to speak up and say something when they see this type of thing, then it becomes more unacceptable. And if you're that person that is parking in these disabled spots improperly, and someone keeps saying to you every time you do it, did you know you're parked in a, they might get tired of that, and it might actually start to deter people. So I think, you know, as a community, if we make this unacceptable, then it will become that.
Okay. So you have some activities planned. And there's one activity that I thought it was pretty interesting. You've got a little sign there?
We do. We've got a sign that we can show you. These signs were actually, they're little sandwich board type of signs, and they were donated to us, created by Sign Stop. They made 4 of them for us.
That's great.
And so what Lynn and I will be doing is we're going to have these set up at different disabled parking spots around town. We sometimes will be available with brochures that we've also created to hand out on this awareness campaign. So you'll be seeing these, you'll be seeing us around.
And they're on both sides, so people on the sidewalk could also see them?
Just a reminder, you know, to let
Right.
motorists and the public in general know to try and leave these spots for people who really do need them.
So you said, you mentioned about brochures, do you have some brochures here that you've put out and you're going to try to get it out to the public? Okay.
This is a brochure, Nate, and it's double-sided, and it's got a couple of stories in there, personal stories and accounts of difficulties with parking and what's required. It's got the rules and regulations around parking, how to contact Alison and I if they want more information. And generally, from a learning standpoint, it's got information that will help people learn to respect and value the needs that we have.
One of the things, Nate, that we haven't touched on yet is, you know, this isn't just a convenience for us. It's not a privilege for us. There's actually a safety issue involved in this as well. There are some spots in town that don't have a cutout, or in the wintertime the cutout may be ice or snow covered, which forces people in our situation to have to go behind vehicles and into traffic to make it to an intersection where there's a proper cutout to access the sidewalk. So there's a safety aspect to this as well. It's not just about, we want the spot closest to the building.
Right. In winter, there seems to be also the problem that you don't see some of the spots. Not all spots have the signs, or?
This is very true. It's important for either the city or private property owners to make sure that there is a visual spot up front. So when you pull into a parking spot, not only is there something painted on the ground, but that there's a spot that you can see up front that says wheelchair accessible parking. So they know they need a permit to park there.
Yeah. Because unfortunately, if you just have the wheelchair painted on the ground and you don't have that visual in front, as soon as the snow flies, people forget, people choose to ignore that some of those disabled parking spots are there if they're covered up with snow.
So this awareness campaign will maybe hopefully get more of those signs up eventually, hey?
We sure hope so.
The city has made a lot of progress. This year they did some extra line painting to give a wider berth in some of those disabled parking spots, because one thing also is that everyone, I think, seems to get in or out of their vehicle differently. Some people get in the driver's side, some people get in the passenger side, some people have vans with lifts, and those lifts may be out the side of the vehicle or the back of the vehicle. So it's really important that we have room on both sides of our vehicles, depending on how you enter and exit your vehicle.
One thing I never thought about, you always have to have always have to have angle parking, or do you park in parallel parking also?
I don't think, Lynn, you don't like to park in parallel parking as much, do you?
I don't mind, but in our town we've got a lot of really big vehicles. So you take a chance when you open your door all the way wide and your wheelchair's out there and you're on the street. We do have some spots that are wide enough parallel. There's a few in front of the library where you can parallel park and get out quite safely.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said that you wanted the community to become involved, and can you kind of tell us a little bit more? You don't want people to come up and kind of go, hey, get out of that spot. No, we want to be diplomatic.
Of course.
But there's ways to approach people, and you'd like the community to support you?
Definitely. We have done up some signs. Mitch actually showed one of them on the newscast from last week's show, but this is a notice that Spark actually produces, and Spark is the Social Planning and Research Council, and they put out these notices that basically says you may be parked in this space illegally. And I really appreciate the wording there, you may be, because as a disabled person that has a parking placard, I have occasionally forgotten to put mine up when I've been parked in a disabled spot, and I would certainly hate to come back and have my car towed or something because I forgot. So this is what they call like a gentle reminder, just to let people know that they may be parked illegally. And then on the back, it says why you may have received this notice and some of the different reasons that you may have. It's got great little informational notice. And Lynn also has another one.
Did you say that these were shown already?
No,
not those. This one.
This is one that was created by the Disability Committee in Fort St. John, and we're kind of laddering on the program that they ran last year. They've run for 3 years in a row. And you'll expect to see during the month of October, if you have illegally parked or if you've forgotten your placard, that you might see either one of these notices or one of the red ones put on your vehicle.
Okay. Well, that's good. And are you going to go around doing it all the time?
I have some in my car that I keep in my car for when I do see people that may be, illegally parked. So yes, definitely.
But you would like, maybe you're going to get more of these cards, and you want maybe some people to help you in this?
That's the idea, yes.
So if you're interested, maybe they could contact you to come help. It's not like you want to go out threatening people, as I was saying before,
of course
but
not.
kind of when you see something, no placard, put that up.
One of the other things too, Nate, that Lynn and I, we're not here to point fingers and say all you able-bodied people are parking in our spots. That's not what this is about. Because unfortunately, some of the abuse of these spots and the parking permits comes from the disabled community ourselves. For an example, if you and I were going to go up to Walmart together and I park in a disabled spot, you get out and go in. I've just misused a spot. I'm not getting out of my vehicle. I don't need that disabled spot. And Lynn may drive into the Walmart parking lot and there may not be another spot available to her. And I'm sitting in my vehicle when you, the able-bodied person, exited the vehicle.
Oh.
So it isn't just about able-bodied people parking in the spots. You know, disabled people have misused these spots and permits also. So it's about awareness for the whole community, the able-bodied community and the disabled community.
Okay. Last words to you, Lynn.
Well, education is the whole thing, and teaching respect. So we're reaching out to our community, and we're hoping that through this month, there'll be no snow, and we'll have an opportunity to get everybody on the go before Christmas shopping, and parking becomes a real premium then.
Okay,
That's right.
good. Well, thank you very much for being with me today. Really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Nate.
Now we'll go back to those anchors.
Yeah, those two
people.
strange people.
So that was a pretty good interview. I really appreciated that you guys are coming forward to make sure that there's enforcement of the parking permit system that we have.
This one?
Yeah. And so are you happy with how the campaign's going?
I am happy with how the campaign's going. We've had really good support throughout the community. We're going to be going around talking to different community groups and stuff like that. We've actually got a booking this afternoon at Coraloo and one at the Elks tonight. So it'll be a busy month, but we've had really good response so far. Thanks, Nate.
Okay.
All right, now it's time to move into Sutton's Shutters. Dave was busy last weekend. He took pictures at the Spend a Night in the Cold event, which I mentioned earlier, and that was Friday night. And then on Saturday, he was at the last farmers market for the Great Pumpkin Weigh-In. I think I remember correctly, the biggest pumpkin, or the winning pumpkin at the weekend, was 100, or right around 160 pounds. So of course, as always, we want to thank Dave for sending those in to us. I can't imagine a 160-pound pumpkin.
Well, just imagine 100
That's large.
kilograms. Now you got it.
True.
Okay, got it.
All right.
Okay. Now it's time for community calendar, but before we get into the scroll, I just want to say about two things. We have one thing is the Oktoberfest. We had the first non-alcoholic fest, and that's over, and I know it was a big success. A lot of cars, you were saying, at the senior center. And then on this Saturday, October the 20th at 7 o'clock at the Quesnel Legion, the local pipe band will be having a Pipe-toberfest. And we got Lisa McGarkle gave us some information. It's an incredible opportunity to hear Jack Lee considered to be one of the world's best pipers. So if you want any more information, just call 992-9769, talk to Lisa. The other thing is this Sunday, there's an anti-bullying walk. We will be covering it. And Megan McDougall of Adonis Beauty Salon said she just had to do something after hearing about Amanda Todd, as most people know about that story. It will be Sunday, October the 21st, noon at QJS, and then they're going to walk right to Coraloo. So get involved. If you want to know any more information, just drop in at Adonis Beauty Salon. It's right down on Reed Street near the TD Bank. And now here's the rest of the community calendar. Really
Great.
busy. We're moving along.
All right. That is it for this show. We want to hear from you with your story ideas, which will air on our program here on TV and on social media. We also want to hear your comments about our show. How do you think we're doing? Let us know.
So remember,
Q Today is about Quesnel talking to Quesnel.